So this process, we've heard from Bruce before that a lot of times guys would get tape from Howard Finkel. Would Howard send you footage of the guy, and would someone from creative services or Howard or Pat or who would have told you, here's sort of the gist of this guy and his character, and oh, here's some stuff to watch and take a look and just get a feel?
Um, very early on, I mean, very early on, occasionally Howard would call me and give me details on someone new of, Vince wanted me to let you know about this new guy, here's his vibe. I'm sending over a picture. Got a little bit of video on him, but that soon became more my relationship with Kevin Dunn, and he
Okay.
generally communicated that stuff to me. And he's an articulate guy, which really helped.
You mentioned Kevin Dunn. Of course, you start making these themes in 1985. We don't really have the quote unquote Titantron, but eventually that becomes a big part of the entrance. It's not just the music, but now there's a video. Would Dunn and his crew make a video that's sort of like, hey, here's what we're thinking for this guy? Or would they get the music from you and then make the video around that? Or what's the thinking there? What's that process like?
I think different. I wasn't part of creating those videos at all.
Right.
So, um, but my impression was that every producer had a different way of working. I think some producers like to just get images in their head, and then maybe at the end of the day they'll end up cutting them to tempo to the music. And some producers always like to have the music first and they cut to that. They want to see right up front what images seem to work to the music. Yeah, that was a good idea, because it helps. Everything about pro wrestling is about story and feeling.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with wrestling. I believe that wrestling itself is the weak link in pro wrestling. Is what made it gigantic were storylines, character, um, uh, music and vibe, and the magic of that, getting it out of the literal and making it emotional. And it's like a live movie, really. And just like in a movie, if you don't care about the hero, if you don't like, uh, if you don't care if Indiana Jones lives or dies, you're never going to enjoy those movies.
Right.
It's like you have to be emotionally into that and care whether he's going to be able to save the day, or else it's all just meaningless.
Like, what could the note have been from The Office? Hey, we've got a dead guy. Make a dead guy.
Really, really hard, because we have a dead guy. He's a huge guy. He's like 6'10" or something, um, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what that means. It just sort of drew a blank, and he's a pro wrestler. So
Right.
I'm thinking we need something that's sort of big and up and powerful. And I tried a bunch of stuff, with a beat and kind of rock stuff, and just it didn't feel right at all. And then one day I was just playing piano and came up with this little children's theme. Um, and it just sort of showed up, and it seemed it seemed right. Sorry, first wrote it. And so I knew that that was the right theme,
Right.
but I knew that obviously that's wrong. That's not going to work. You know, the guy's 7 feet tall in black leather. You're not going to come out to that. So, give me a second here. So, well, I'll give you an approximation of, you take that and then just move it emotionally to a different world. And so you got, sorry. And then you do different versions and you add choir and then so.
You're off to the races, man. That was amazing.
But I mean, it's a mysterious voyage of discovery.